Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lisa Parento. I am a realtor on beautiful Cape Cod. And my most important descriptive is that I'm the grandma to 3 beautiful granddaughters, one of which I'm going to see on Sunday over in England, which is very exciting. And I'm joined today by my beautiful colleague and friend and soul sister, Barbara Legg from the San Diego market.
Hello, everybody. I'm Barbara. Here in San Diego, and see, I've been licensed for about 20 years. Love doing these workshops with Lisa. We just always have so much fun. So you'll see that we're going to bounce back and forth between the two of us, just because we like to bounce things off of each other. We have fun.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess we will get started. We decided, kind of, apropos of nothing, I think sometime in February, hey, did you do your word for the year? And I think Barbara was like, yeah. But there kind of wasn't, years ago, it was like this big thing, and then kind of over the years, it's like, yeah, I got my word and like, whatever. But we realized many people probably didn't even do their word of the year this year. Or if they did, they might have forgotten it already. And if they hadn't forgotten it, they really had not taken it fully into their souls and found out, like, why did I even pick that? Should I pick another one? And how might that transform some pieces of my life and my business? So we thought, let's just do one. And that's where we're at. So would you like to share the presentation, share the screen, Barbara?
Yes.
We want to make sure, and we have a screen, and I think my assistant Raymar is going to put the link in the chat over and over again. Everybody download, it's on, that's great. Everybody download your workbook. I've got mine right here. We're going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. Can you go to the next screen, Barbara?
Yes.
And that gives everybody there you go. That QR code, if you don't have it, scan that QR code. It might not help if you're on your computer, but Raymar is putting the workbook link into the chat. Take a couple of minutes and print that out. I really recommend that you do that, because this is one of those, both Barbara and I come from a school of workshops and webinars and seminars where we really like to have a little book and to jot things down. Brian Buffini was, I think, the one who really inculcated that for us about the importance of doing that, because the hand-eye coordination of actually writing while you're learning, for many of us, certainly many visual learners and kinesthetic learners, it really helps to reinforce what you're learning. Also, Raymar, could you spotlight the two of us in the chat piece? That would be great. I mean, in the view.
Yeah, I was going to say pen to paper and fill in the blanks.
Yes, please do. I mean, we have ours here too. I'm going to take just as much time, because I know what my word is, but I know that I haven't really given myself a daily process to really integrate. And I think these can be incredibly important things. So let's get started. Get that pen or pencil out. And actually, right now, before we get started, if you want to go back one, Barbara, before we get started, I'm going to ask everybody, for like 1 minute to put your pens down after I told you to pick them back up. If you're comfortable, close your eyes for a moment and just land here. My suggestion for you is to turn your phone upside down if you can. Put it on airplane mode for the next hour. We like to remember that there's really no real estate emergencies. We're not surgeons. Hopefully your house is not on fire, and you can really give yourself the gift of this next hour without interruption. And we hope we'll be compelling enough to keep your attention. So sit comfortably, take a deep breath. Allow your shoulders to kind of, fall back and down, relaxing your eyes, maybe relaxing your jaw, relaxing your belly. Know that right now you have nowhere else to go and nothing to do, but to give yourself the gift of this time for not only professional development, but personal development. All right, let's get started.
Let's go.
Right. So I think, Barbara, I'm going to mute you for a sec to see. There's I hear some static on the.
Okay.
Yeah, it was you. We'll just keep turning yours back on and off. There is a kind of a staticky sound. So, we really, again, wanted to make a point that we're not here to sort of redesign anything. We're not here to, give you sort of a new orientation. You guys know what you're doing. You're on a path. You wouldn't be here unless you already had some of these thoughts and ideas, in your mind. I want to mention that on all the slides where there's going to be time for you to take a moment, there's a little pen in the upper right-hand corner. And we're going to give you, probably about a minute, 90 seconds. I mean, not that long because it's a lot longer when you're actually waiting, but we want to give you some time to think about some of these things. This really is a workshop. This is not a presentation, right? We want you to be moving through it. And we also really want your participation. So I think I'm going to unmute you, Barbara. Do you see that? We're going to, we really want, we're going to, and I want, when we take time to stop and say, so what are you guys thinking like right now? And I will, I know many of you, I will call on you. So I'm hoping that you'll just jump in and make this as participatory as possible for sure. So that being said, in the workbook, these questions are kind of posed, and I think it will be interesting to see where we are now starting out at 12:07 and where we are at 1, and see if there's been any kind of evolution to your thinking about these questions. So, Barbara, do you want to kind of take the questions and go on to the reflection in the workbook?
Yeah. So, Lisa and I kind of pull these questions together. What do you want to accomplish this year? And sometimes, when your word finds you, you'll see that that word really helps you throughout the year. So, what do you want to accomplish this year? And who do you want to become while you do it? So, take some time and think about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that again, just pull out your pen, get your workbook going. The question in the workbook is, who do I want to become this year? And it could be real estate production oriented. There can be some pieces of family, of life, health, spiritual journey, whatever comes to you. There's nothing wrong. Whatever came up, just write that down, because that's, I think, what is the most important piece for sure. So a couple more seconds.
You want me to share what I wrote?
Sure. Please.
So, well, I already know my word, and it's kind of still keeps coming back to me. Most of you know what my word is because I kind of told you, but for those of you who don't, what I wrote down was to be fearless and take more chances and to just go for it. So for me, I didn't write like a whole long, sentence structure. It just, a couple of words that kind of jumped out for me.
Well, okay, I'll share as well, and then we're gonna ask for at least one person in the group. There's 18 of us here now. Um, my word for the year, and I guess we'll continue to share them as we go, because we want to kind of weave in where we're going with this. My word for the year is align. And I have often found that what I say I want is not aligned with my actions. And so that's a big piece of this work for me. And so I wrote a loving grandma, a well-rounded leader. So yeah, so for me, I have to keep remembering that what those things are, and we'll have some time to write that down. What those goals are for ourselves this year, and how they are connecting with what our word is. So, all right, let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
And I think I'll let you take part of this, Barbara.
Okay. So we have the three planning lenses: goals, intentions, and word. So when you take a look at your goals, it's what are we chasing? What is it that you want to accomplish? And so what's the metric on how to achieve that goal? And then your intentions, how do we move throughout our day or throughout our life? And then what's the energy behind that? So these are just kind of, things to kind of keep in the back of your mind. And then a word, what we practice and what's the identity.
Yeah. For example, if someone had the word fearless, how these things are going to show up is very different than having the word listen.
Yes.
Are you with me? Like there's really, so to kind of think about, so if you go to the next slide, and it shows the connectivity between these three things, right? Goals, whatever those goals are, being being a more well-rounded leader for me, and I say glamma, a loving glamma. Like that's a big thing. That includes my kids. That includes like a lot of stuff that really, scheduling and intention and focus. But those goals I have drive my actions, my decisions, my choices. I think the intentions behind those things really guide our behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way that this, the way that this is showing up for us is our words, these words, our word of the year, but words in general shape who we are, the kind of language we use. I mean, look at the world, right? Like there's so many examples of the power of words. And our identity drives everything. And I think we forget that, so often we're in a very reactive mode in work, in life, with our partners, with our families, versus being proactive and allowing our identity to lead versus just continuing to kind of, react to things. Thoughts on that, Barbara?
No, it just, as you were talking, I kept coming back to my word, and how is my word shaping like all of these items on this slide. So my word is leap, LEAP. So it's kind of like, take a leap of faith, or, take a quantum leap. If I'm really doing something outside my comfort zone, it's like, okay, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
So,
And the energy of that word is very different than the energy of a word like align, right?
align.
Like the
Yes.
energy behind those things are really, each of those are calling for us to show up differently. So think about that for a moment. There is on the workbook, there's a reflection about which of these lenses do you think will most influence your decisions about this word today? Just give yourself 30 seconds to kind of think about that. I know what mine is right away and again, I'm going to recommend that we just take the first thing that comes to your mind. Especially after even a brief clearing, as brief as ours was, that 60 seconds, I think more intuitive thoughts can come through. So who'd like to share which of these planning lenses is going to most impact today's session for you? Somebody jump in. We'll call on you. Anybody jumping in?
Can you
there you
put
go.
on the slide with the lenses?
Sure.
Go back.
Yep. So goals, intentions, and identity practice. Tina Daniel, I don't know you, but would you like to share?
You
Go,
know,
Tina, go.
you know what? I was fighting with my printer trying to make this print out, and I just like forget it. I'll look at the screen. I think
Okay, perfect.
mine's gonna be more intentions, the energy that goes with everything.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get somebody else? How about Kelly Phillips? Are you there? You're there, but you're not on the screen. All right. Anybody else want to share on which one of these planning lenses? I know for me, it's definitely intention.
I'll say for me, it's intention as well. I want to try and get more organized this year. That's the key. And I think that will work in my professional and my personal life as well, you know.
Yeah, I love that because again, if we don't think about this now foundationally, and even though it's March, I mean, I think the January timeline, that's one of the things that Barbara and I were laughing about. Starting the new year in January is okay, but it doesn't have to be that way either. And that's why we love doing this in the middle of March, because there's always an opportunity. So, all right, great. Thank you. All right, let's move on to kind of why words matter. I think that's our next piece.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, word of the year, what it is and what it isn't. I'm going to let you start with this one, Barbara. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna switch over to this one. So
Yeah.
right. Okay, what a word is, it is your North Star. It's gonna keep you focused and aligned throughout the year. It's a values anchor, a personal leadership principle, and a decision making filter. And really keep that one in mind, a decision making filter, because when you come to the crossroads of life, of whatever's going on, your word, trust me on this, will help you figure out like which path to take, because it's going to be different.
Yeah. Let me just ask a question, which I should have at the beginning. How many people have not chosen a word this year? Just use the raise hand feature.
That's a good
Let
question.
me just see, like people who are like, what are you even talking about? Word of the year. John Gordon, and we'll see a quick slide later about the 3-step process that he's always used. But so how many people have not even done a word or thought about it? You're keeping this a secret? Okay. I know it's something that I've done for years, and I don't often take the steps that we're going to take today to really find a way to integrate it into what we're doing, right? I think that's the, for, at least for me, the bigger piece. And
well, another question too, Lisa, could be who chose a word but kind of forgot your word, or your word hasn't really been helping you this year. I mean, here we are March, so it might be time for a reset.
Yeah. And if you kind of believe that it did come from somewhere, from reaching out to our higher angels to kind of find this, we can make a choice as to how it's showing up. I've got some new leadership roles at NAR, and when you're and at my state association, when you are chairing a committee of a lot of people, I know at least for me that align, knowing that I have that word in the back of my head. Right now, there's this political thing going on with a candidate and looking for funding, whatever. And I keep thinking, but that's not aligned with what the goals of the committee were this year. Like it's really helped. It has continued to help me in all, if I allow it to, if I find a way to make it more prominent and remember the heart that I had when I discovered that word, which we're hoping, everyone will get to today. So let's talk about what it's not.
It's not a branding exercise. It's not a productivity trick. It's not a resolution, and it's not something to achieve.
Yeah. I love that. I especially love the not something to achieve, because part of this, and as we continue to unwrap this, I want to make sure everybody feels a confidence level that all of this is already inside of you, and we're just uncovering different, pieces of this. None of this needs to be anything that we're going to reconstruct or have to achieve something. It's a North Star. I love that bullet point on what it is. It can serve as a North Star, but it's not like, who cares, a branding exercise, like whatever. No one's going to even know or see that. This is something really personal. And I think that it can impact productivity, but I don't think, as this is stated, I don't really think it's like a trick. So I think that's really important.
Right.
So next slide. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Lisa. You do it.
No, I just think that, this is kind of what I was just saying. It doesn't have to be about doing more. You look at the natural evolution, and you'll see some butterflies in the presentation and in the workbook. You see the natural evolution of something that's transforming, that always was the original thing in some form, but it is transforming. And I think, at least for me, when I'm thinking about new concepts or thinking about whatever, I just think about, how can I do it? How, that idea of more is always happening. Like, how can I do this differently? Instead of feeling grounded and coming from a place of understanding how transformation really happens. So, like it says here, it's not about doing more. It's about becoming more conscious, taking that word, and we'll be, picking that very soon, our new one, taking that word and letting it inform how we move, as we've been saying. So next slide. Yeah, so what words have been circling? And now here, I'm really going to ask people to jump out. What are some of the words that you've thought about? Maybe you did pick your word. Maybe you never thought of that. Maybe you've only been thinking about it for the past 21 minutes. Or a little bit before, because you registered for the workshop. What are some words that are kind of circling? And we can go to the next slide, Barbara, and we have a kind of a giant word cloud that, if you haven't picked one,
there's a whole bunch.
Yeah, here's like a ton of them. So, Tina, I know you're dying to tell us, what word has been circling for you?
Well, it was focused, and then I changed it to determined. But who knows, after this, I might change it again.
I love that. I love the flexibility of that. That could be your word, flexible. Yeah, I mean, Barbara, what are some of the words that you've chosen over the years?
Oh my gosh. The very first word that I chose when I learned of this concept was believe. That was my very first word. And then I've had perspective, which that word served me very well that year. Last year it was love. And with love, it was kind of interesting. And I was almost embarrassed to tell people that it was love, but that word just kind of kept coming to me. And it's more like, when something bad happens, it's kind of like, okay, where's the love in this one? Or how can I change this around? And everything happens for a reason. So just love what's going on in your life. And it was a beautiful word for me last year. So this year it's actually, love was 2 years ago. Last year was a different word. It was one I had never heard of before. It was called entelechy. Entelechy means your soul's purpose. So I had to kind of keep coming back to that one, because I'm like, I don't really understand what this word means, but it kept showing up again for me. So entelechy was last year. And this
That's interesting, because somebody else gave a word that wasn't really a word, or it was a word, but what was it? One of the people in your group, pronoia, PRONOI, which kind of sounds like, I don't know. What is the definition of it again?
That was Jordana's. It was the very complete opposite of paranoia. So you just, believe everything that's happening. She actually wrote out the description, because, she didn't know what it was. And when she was telling people, they didn't know what it was. So, and I thought, oh, I really like that word. It might be my next year.
So just a funny story. I mean, I think that's interesting, but I also chose a word one year, equanimity, because equanimity means like to always stay balanced in every situation. Though it just had like a great meaning for me. I kept forgetting the word, and I couldn't even remember what it was. I had to explain it to everybody. Like that was too hard. And I realized from the year of that I would not choose a word. I had the word courage, and that actually played a lot more in. I had that in 23, and I really needed to have that word at the time. And last year, my word was grace. And so, like love, that can also show up in so many different ways. How could I be more graceful in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
How can I bring some grace into this moment? How can I give that person some grace right now who I completely disagree with and think what they're saying is crazy? I was able to really utilize that. And how can I be more graceful in my transactions? Um, Kinder, and all of those things that come with what grace means to me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was a powerful word for me last year. I think it's interesting to look back at the end of the year on how your word has shown up for you, if it's a concept that you're working on. So now we're going to get in a little bit into the weeds of how this all kind of works. So we've talked a little bit about why words matter. I think it's kind of obvious, would anyone else like to, kind of think about or add any comments to why? And I don't know if it's, words in general, but words of the year. I think we've kind of, talked about that and made the case. It does matter. Our language matters. There's a great communication style called nonviolent communication, which is kind of I've never loved the name of it, but it's called NVC, nonviolent communication. And it's a process about in any, I'll use the word conflict loosely, but in any situation with someone else that for whatever reason, your feelings are hurt, you feel, what it's not typically, NVC is not typically used when you're feeling fabulous. It's used when you're in some kind of a uncomfortable situation with another human being. And it's a process where you first identify your feelings. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling empty. Words, and there's a list of words because sometimes we don't even have the word to say how we're feeling. So you describe your feeling, and then you say, because my need for whatever is not being met, because my need for feeling close to you, because my need for feeling that I'm important, my need for, whatever that is, right? So you identify your feeling and you identify the need that's not being met. And when you bring that to another human being, it's a rare situation where they'll be like, I don't care what you need. I don't care what your feelings are. It immediately softens the situation. And you've also just claimed your side. You're not saying, when you never do this, you don't do, you're not doing that. You're just claiming how you feel in the moment. And so that book that's written by one of the founders of that, Judith Lasseter, who's an amazing teacher, is called What We Say Matters. And I think there's so much power in understanding that and in slowing yourself down so that you can think about the words that you choose. And I think that same thing can be expanded and extended to this exercise and to this whole idea of word of the year. Thoughts on that, Barbara?
No, I don't even want to mess with that one. That was beautiful.
I just love NVC. I think there's so much power in nonviolent communication, although I hate the name of it. It's an amazing process, especially once you get, more familiar with working it. So let's go to the next slide. So this is just kind of an insight we have. The pen is there. So, when you think about what these words can mean, I've seen over and over that, many books that I've read, top performers absolutely choose words. We have a colleague of ours who just wrote a book, and I think her word was leverage. Wendy Forsythe just wrote the book, Leverage Your X Factor. It is a tool. It is a leadership tool for sure. And I love this idea that when the pressure increases in any situation, right? Whether it's, whatever it is, whatever you're working on, stressful, more complex thinking starts to fall apart. But if you've chosen this single word, it can cut through that.
Yeah, I
So,
think
yeah,
it can
go ahead.
also help with the problem of overthinking,
Mm,
right? We all tend to
I
overthink,
love that. Yeah.
situations and problems, and just go back to your word because your word is guiding you.
Yeah, for sure. So next slide. So we have talked about this, what the word is not, and that it's a decision-making filter. Let's go on from this one. So we talked about John Gordon, and did you want to speak to this, Barbara?
Yeah, so most of us have probably already read John Gordon's book, One Word, which is amazing, which is, one way that this all came about. And he has this 3-step process. Look in, which means, prepare your heart. So you do take that time to kind of, ground yourself and just, cut through all the craziness that's going on in your life right now. So just prepare your heart for that. And then you take time and you look up. So looking up, it's, your higher power, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe. And just, again, just take some time and have some space, and your word actually will find you. So I know you have a whole bunch of words, swirling around in your head right now, but there's one word that will consistently come to you. And then you're going to look out and live your word. So that's kind of what we've been talking about, like how your word is going to guide you throughout the year and throughout your day and what you're going to be doing. So
So let's go on to the next slide, because we've actually added 2 steps to that. So we've taken John's 3 steps and we've added 2 others. So we're going to have a stop. We're going to be able to take some time and work on some of these, but here's the process itself with the overview. The first one is similar to what John's is. So it's kind of look in, prepare the heart, what is, where do you, what is really yearning to come out, this year. And then let go, and I think this is an important piece that we added, and we'll have a slide that will kind of give us some more ideas about that. But that's a big piece of all of this is, what can I say no to, right? And then look up. There is, some, as Barbara said, some connection to a higher power in some of these. I think, everyone who's on this has had some idea. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here with us today, right now. And then how we're going to put that word into action is important. But I love the last one we added as well, which is how are we going to lift others with our word? What service and contribution will we be able to make? So, Raymar, would you put the workbook back into the chat? Because I think some people have joined us since it was first in there. Please make sure, if you can, grab a blank piece of paper if you want, but if not, take a look at that workbook. I don't know if you have time to print it out now, but let's go on and go to our first piece, and that is the looking in. So there is a sheet in the workbook about, these questions to pause and notice where you are right now. You can't kind of move beyond, as without taking an honest look at where we are, where you are right now. Like for me, realizing that I'm misaligned in a number of ways, and I'm going to journal about that now. But so look in, what's been most present in your life over the past year? Where in your life do you currently feel most aligned? Not just my word, for you. And where do you feel tension or disconnection? If you were completely honest with yourself, what part of your life is asking for your attention right now? So I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes to journal on this. And I'll start a timer so we're not going too long. I'm going to try to start some music, but I don't know if it's going to work. You can let me know. Do you hear anything?
No.
Nope.
I do. It's beautiful. Sorry. Okay. We realized if you're doing the presentation, you have to do the music also. I did figure out the music though. But we can't both do it. At least we haven't figured out how to do that. So we will not have music right now, but take a few minutes and just jot down the answers to some of these questions here in the workbook. Okay, just another minute or two on this one. I mean, another few seconds. We're just about at 2 minutes. Or I'm sorry, about a minute and a half. So anybody want to share what they are reflecting on in this first look in awareness? Any of these questions? What's been most present in your life? It's pretty personal. I mean, I understand if people don't really want to share it, but if someone would like to jump in, that would be great. I can always get Barbara to start.
I wasn't going to write it down. I thought, nope, she's going to call on me. I'll go. Do you want me to go ahead and
Yeah,
share?
please. Yeah, please.
Didn't quite get to the third one, but what's been most present in my life over the past year? I'm going to say I've had more fun, and I've made more connections, you know, with some amazing people, and more opportunities have come my way. And I think that's you know, again, that kind of shows me how that word leap is kind of coming up for me again, you know, because with these opportunities that are coming up, it's like, yeah, let's go for it. Where in your life do you currently feel most aligned, and where do you feel tension or disconnection? I feel good with where I'm going, you know, with the direction, the path that I'm taking right now. The tension or disconnection, I didn't get to answer that question, so I'm going to have to noodle on that for a little bit. And then, of course, I didn't get to the last one, but they're very thought-provoking questions, and they're good journaling prompts.
Yeah, and we hope you will take some time to spend some time journaling in all these. We want to give you some time again to kind of, you know, roll your sleeves up and get something done. You know, I know that I have been most present with, for me personally, with really developing a very robust morning meditation practice that, you know, I've taken like a significant amount of time. I'm doing a lot of, I've taken a couple of courses that I've been spending time on in the mornings, really blocking out that time for quiet and expansion and personal development that has nothing to do with real estate. You know, for me, that's been really important, and I feel really aligned with all of that. Tension and disconnection also have to do with more with being honest with yourself. What part is asking for your more attention right now? I always feel like my family relationships are what's asking for more of my attention, and I continue to think about how to make those conscious choices. So for me, and again, that goes back to my word, right? For me to continue to align what I say is important with the choices I make and my actions, for sure. So that is kind of my honesty there. Anybody else want to share anything, or we'll just move on to our next L? Okay, the next one I am going to get people to share with. So the second one, let go. Barbara, do you want to take this one?
Sure. I mean, as far as just, you know, what do you have to let go? What's been holding you back? And you guys all know deep down inside, you know that energy that's inside you that's like holding you back from what you want to do or where you want to go. So, you know, be honest with yourself on that one. Don't do it out of obligation, because if you're doing it out of obligation, it's probably not meant for you. maybe it is, but if it's something that you need to let go deep down inside, you truly know it.
Yeah. So these questions, okay, so what habit, belief, or pattern from last year? So we're kind of really looking at, the last 6 to 12 months. That would be 24, 25, whatever, 26. The last 6 to 9 months or so. Was there a pattern or a belief that you feel is ready to be released? I can think of one that comes right to the top of mind for me. And how about a difficulty that you had over this past year that really taught you something about yourself, about how you show up? Could be positive, could be not as positive, right? Could be a joy, could be a challenge. And if you could leave one thing behind as we move into this next phase, what would it be? So I'm going to give everybody some time to do that. And let's get started with this one. What can you let go? Okay, another couple seconds. We'll just hit on 2 minutes here. I wish we'd been able to figure out that music. It was lovely. The next one, I'll figure it out for sure. All right, so let go. This is such a big one. It's so great. How many of you actually stop and think about this as part of your planning, your personal planning, your business planning, your family planning? Anyone want to talk about a habit? I mean, again, these are kind of personal, but I'm happy. I really would love to hear people share about, is there a habit, a pattern, a belief that feels complete and that's ready to be released? Anyone want to reflect on that question, or a challenge or difficulty from last year that taught you something about yourself? Christy Martinez, you put your camera on, so I'm going to pick on you. Share with us some of the stuff that you're thinking about with letting go. Lessons from experience.
So I actually, and I don't really know if it goes along the lines of like a habit, belief, or pattern, but I let go of my business that I had opened I had it for 9 years to move forward in real estate full time. So not really like necessarily a habit or a belief, but it was a huge decision to make, but I needed to do it to move forward with that and be there for my family. So I guess that would be what I resonate with in this question.
That's big stuff. That's really big stuff. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Barbara, something that you discovered from the past year that taught you something valuable about yourself?
It's something that I do, and I think a lot of people do, and that's people pleasing. Right? There's a lot of people pleasing, I think, that goes on in our industry, and just, I mean, we like people to be happy, and we want to do for them. So I think that being able to allow people to take care of themselves, or I don't have to do it all for them. And sometimes when you're doing everything for everybody, you're letting them miss out on what they need to learn. So I think letting go of people pleasing, and then one thing I have to always keep in the back of my mind is what other people think about me is none of my business.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
that's great on a t-shirt, but hard to remember.
yes, yes.
Yeah, for sure. So true, so true. In the essence of time, let's move on to our third L, which is look up. So
Okay.
I love these prompt questions. And this
Yes.
is the time, you gave yourself this hour, to reconnect with what really matters most to you, the things that, um, whatever that may be, family, financial security, professional, contribution, whatever those things might be. When you think about the person that you want to become this year or rediscover this year, I will cross that out and write rediscover.
Mhm.
What qualities stand out most clearly? I love that. That's easy to kind of just jot down some qualities. And then what values or principles do you really want to guide your decisions? If this year unfolded in a deeply meaningful way, what would you feel most important about how you lived it? So let's give ourselves a couple minutes. I love these. They're so meaty. Give ourselves a couple minutes for these inquiries. I bet we have a lot of the same answers. Okay, another moment or two. This one was awful meaty. And let's see, I think Tina Daniels still has her camera on.
I'm
Thank
just
you so
happy
much.
that I finally got my workbook printed out.
Yoo!
Yay.
I'm a workbook person. You don't know how much that was driving me crazy trying to write that fast. So I kind of feel the look up questions and the let go with me kind of tie in together, because I think I'm always associating like how successful I am by the amount of transactions I close. And it's like the last couple years, even though my transactions have gone down some, I've spent so much more time like with my husband, with my daughter on vacation, taking 3 or 4 day weekends off, or just taking our travel trailer somewhere. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I can pay my bills. Like, I don't have to like drive myself crazy on a number. I literally just sometimes feel like pick out of the sky. Like, okay, my coach thinks I can do that. Yeah, let's do that. And it's, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, I think last year I finally feel like I have a little more balance in my life.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm doing what? So the letting go is more time officially off. Because when they say like, oh, you know, how many days a week you taking off and how many, I mean, it's like, I don't know. It depends on how many listings and buyers I have. That's how many days a week I'm taking off. Sometimes none.
I love that so much. And you talk about redefining success. And isn't that a gem? Isn't that something? Everybody just jot that down on your paper somewhere to kind of go back and think about that, you know? I mean, we hear about, you know, there's like two kinds to me of very, very successful, wealthy people. The ones that just keep working and they never pick their head up. And then the ones that seem to be on all kinds of vacations and doing this and that with their family. And, you know, you can see them. Well, there's one group that takes the calendar at the beginning of the year and blocks out, you know, this all the time that you're going to be spending not working, and then put the work, you know, overlay the work part. And I mean, I'll be honest, you know, I could have all the best intentions in the world, but if I'm very often, if I'm doing something and somebody calls to come for a listing appointment, everything gets dropped. I just had one. I was with my son. I just had one and I made the other decision. I was supposed to be doing something with my older son, Benjamin, and I did that. Went and did not go on a listing appointment, which was like kind of a big, you know, that fork in the road there. But similar to what you were saying, you know, Tina, that, you know, really being able to look back on the year and look at all of that time you spent with family and vacations and all those things versus numbers on a spreadsheet. I mean, we were working with families, of course. I don't mean to make it, you know, but I think that the point is kind of amazing. So values or principles, anybody want to throw in anything there or something, you know, any other qualities that you discovered as you were writing? Barbara, did you want to throw something in there?
I put down confidence.
Mm,
Just one word.
okay. All right. I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I had kindness in two places, right? So, that is interesting that came out so
I
quickly.
know, right? I guess you need confidence to leap.
Yeah. But you know what I wrote? If what would be the most meaningful thing? To have my granddaughters shout, "It's Grandma Lisa." I'll cry.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually what I wrote.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. That's, yeah. So, okay. So that's a look up. Do people feel grounded with that? Let's move on to number 4, which is live it. And this is kind of how we're going to integrate that. So as you're thinking about the word that that's really circling for you, the word that's emerging, and I can't wait to take a moment for us all to share kind of what that word is. As you're thinking about what that word is, as you've looked in, you've looked up, you've let go of a few things. Is there, you know, are you closer, or do you have what that word kind of is? And as you're considering that, how might you bring that word into daily life? And we do have a little quick action plan at the end. So this does not have to be your action plan, but with that word, that circling that you're really considering, or that you already have for the year, how is that changing the way you're showing up? Right. And if you face a difficult moment this year, how might this word that you're considering, that you're zeroing in on, that you've already decided on, how's that going to affect your responses? So take a few minutes to kind of jot some of that down. All right, let's wrap this one up. I love what Susan wrote in the chat, that your word is getting out of your comfort zone. Tell me, what's your word? Susan, where are you? Did you have, because it's kind of a
No, I'm
word. Is it
here, I'm here, I'm here.
discomfort? Go ahead.
No, my word is becoming, and I
Oh,
chose becoming rather than become because it's a process.
I love it.
And that I keep telling myself the journey is more important than the goal, or just as important as the destination. And when I pull back and don't want to do something, or something feels uncomfortable, I remind myself that I'm becoming, and it's okay to be scared and do it scared and do it reluctantly and just do it and take baby steps forward.
I love it. That's so fabulous. And after we finish this last one, I'm going to ask everyone to put their word, or the word that they, hopefully, I don't know if you've had a new word come to you during this last hour, or if your word has just cemented itself. Like Susan said, it had been become, and now it's becoming, which I love. I love that action piece of that and the energy around that. Very different energy, as we talked about in the beginning, of the workshop.
Lisa, I
Yeah.
posted a question earlier. What's the difference in energy, and is there a better or worse to have a verb or a noun or an adverb or an adjective?
So I think this is your process and your personal, some people, for example, the word listen versus listening, right? Like that's really different. Those mean different things. So I think, what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, through the process of this, you realize that you want that the journey is the important piece, not to become something, but the becoming, or the rediscover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Last year my word was get to. So every time I thought, oh, I have to
Yeah.
make calls, I have to do pot buys, I have to write notes, I have to do an open house, I would think about gratitude and say, I get to.
Yeah,
I
that's a
get
great
to make phone
reframe.
calls. I get to do all this stuff.
It's a great reframe for sure. We're just at the top of the hour. About, if people have to sign off, I understand we only had an hour and somehow we're going over. But anyone who's going to stay, I hope you will, continue to stay. We'll probably be wrapped up within five to 10 minutes, probably 5. I think that's fine. So let's go on to the last one, which is lift. How are we going to have this lift others? The name of this series, and actually I have a podcast. It's called Lifting Others as We Rise. How is our word this year how can we put that into service? How will that extend beyond us, in terms of whatever, community, life, the world?
I think it's a good pause right now for those of you who already have your word, like your word in January. This is a good way to take a look at how is your word contributing beyond yourself, just like we said in here. So
Yeah.
how might living this word positively influence your clients, your colleagues, your family? And if you're still trying to find your word, this is another good way to figure out, how could my word contribute more outside me.
I love this one. And in your workbook is that word cloud with 8,000 words. It's not 8,000, but a lot of words. If you have not found your word yet, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So take a couple minutes and talk about how your word will extend beyond you. All right, I'm going to cut this one a little bit shorter than the others so that we can move on and kind of come closer to wrapping up. Anyone have anything specific that came to them right away about how their word is going to help lift others and towards contribution?
I'm going to share real quickly. I think
Okay,
that
sure.
you show up differently in the world. One year, my word was perspective, and even to this day, I will take a look at what's happening on whatever, with transaction, whatever, and I can always view it from a different perspective. So I think your word sometimes can just change how you view life, the way you're living it right now, or what's going on around you.
Absolutely. So anyone else want to share, or let's move on to I think for me, the piece about lifting others, like Barbara just said, if you take your word and extend it um, out, you'll see how that can really have ripple effects, not on the surface of it necessarily, right? I mean, love obviously does, but even with a line, when I think about noticing, for me, they say when your words and deeds are aligned, that's what will allow you to feel peaceful and happy, right? And that when we're not aligned, when our words and deeds are not aligned, there tends to be more discomfort and disease, with how we're feeling. So I feel like there really is, so I just want to make sure people take a moment, even though we're running over, take a moment to really think about how that can extend for you. So last couple slides are really about the action plan. From a business perspective, and you guys could take the time to reflect on this, but if your word ran your business, what would be the first thing that would change? I know my time management might be shifted. What I think about the night before for my day, how I build all that in. And how will your word most impact your business? We wanted to give you an opportunity to think about that. Next slide. So there is a little action plan in here, and you can choose one small thing to start with, one boundary you want to protect, and one habit to practice daily. And I will just take a pause here for a few minutes. Anybody want to jump in with, first of all, throw your words in I know everyone's got to jump off. Throw your words in the chat if you wouldn't mind. Throw your word in so we can sort of see what those are. I'd love to see them. Ooh, Tina, that's awesome. Excellent, Brian. So good to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's great, Carolyn. Flourish. Oof. So thinking about one action you'll begin taking, one boundary you'll protect, and one habit you'll repeat. Anybody want to jump in with any of those? Has this given you some things to think about and how you might be able to really integrate a little bit more? So I thought of a habit, and that would be, so I do happen to have this morning practice, as I mentioned earlier. I usually do a little bit of journaling, and I jot things down all the time to make sure I don't forget things, right? But I'm going to write my word on the top of some of my pages, and I'm going to pose the question to myself in the morning in meditation: how can my word align, support me today? So just integrating it into a daily practice for me, into my practice, which has to do with meditation and study time. How can align support me today? you know, so I plan to do that. Anybody else have some thoughts around that?
I think that's great. That's a great idea.
So let's go on to the towards the end here of our slides. Just use this as a prompt for yourself. If I really live this word, how will people view me differently, if at all? Maybe you're, you know, maybe not, but how would that, you know? Next slide. And then this is kind of the end. We talked about, you know, now looking back on last year and what your word was and how that actually unfolded. Give yourself a moment after we, you know, get off to think about how this word would support you through the year. It's the end of the year and you're looking back. I'm hopeful for me that it will help me make more intentional decisions, but also as a leader that I think about what my role is in each situation that I'm called to lead in, and what would be most aligned with that role. What am I being called to be in that moment? And that's very different, right? I've got my closet of hats is kind of full. But if I stop and think about what hat am I wearing right now, that alignment really helps me make decisions about how to move forward. How about you, Barbara?
Yeah, I think for me, it would be I'll be able to see how much I leaped out of my comfort zone. You know, there's going to be December 31st, 2026. I can look back and see how many things I did that I really didn't want to do that turned out okay because I took that leap of faith.
I love that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear. And I can't wait to hear as we move along. So let me show you, there's a QR code at the end here. So yeah, this is about also what I've been saying. This is not about changing who you are. This is about the person you've always been. This word can be a North Star for you to simply help you remember. And there is a QR code there. We have some Canva templates if you would like to use them for your word. There's beachy ones, and I put my amethyst on there. Just type in your word. It'll say your word. Just put your word in and download it. You know, don't worry about it screwing anything up. And I believe there are two different formats. One would be more for your iPhone, would be a wallpaper, and one's more of like Instagram grid. So that is there for you. And so take that QR code. We'll also put that information in the when we send out the recording of the session, so people can get, you know, can remember that. But please feel free to use that. It's a lot of fun. It's a way to remember, or put a sticky on your computer. That's just as good. Just write your word on a sticky, stick it up on your computer. Want to stop sharing?
Yep.
And I think our contact information was on there, but I think everybody has our contact information. Anyway, thank you so much for sticking with us. We did go 10 minutes over. It's never easy, especially when you're trying to build in time to journal and really have people kind of feel constructive about where they're going. Christy, that's beautiful quality. That's wonderful. I love all these words. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you got a little bit of value out of this hour. And Barbara, as always, it's just a pleasure, and my heart sings whenever we're able to do a collab together.
Thank you for the invite. I love being here. Yeah, it's good to see everybody. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I truly actually needed this today because, you know, I'm a very positive person, so I put down positivity, but, you know, sometimes elements and things that are happening around you steal that positivity, and then the negativity takes over, and then things start happening to you that are negative, and I'm in the hospital.
Oh no, Janice.
Well,
I'm
you
so
know,
sorry.
the positivity means to take care of yourself too. And I wasn't. I was doing what you all said before, doing stuff for everybody else but yourself. So that positivity has to start within yourself so that you can say, no, sorry, don't feel good. Shouldn't have done that. Because I did that, you know, I got myself dehydrated and fell. So, you have to, now I'm going to take this word and really start using it and say that this was a good sign for me, because I've been letting all my business stuff go, because unfortunately the last 2 clients have been in and out of the hospital. So there was all that negativity going on too. And you're trying to stay so positive for everyone else, you forget to stay positive for yourself.
Yeah. And
So
there's that idea of putting the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yes.
Is
So this is
simple, but not easy.
no. So this is the first day of the rest of this year, because I would love to put the last part.
Yeah. And you can, that's a choice.
Yeah.
That's,
so-
today you are choosing self-care because you do know that you're not going to be good for anybody else if you don't take care of yourself. And
that-
Janice watches 2 littles 5 days a week, and it's no simple matter. Yeah.
No, and I
Yeah.
just FaceTime with my granddaughter, because
The
my
grandma
face is
too.
all bruised from falling on it.
Oh no.
And she goes, "That's okay, Nana, you're still beautiful."
Oh,
I said, "Oh my God, she has no idea how much I needed to hear that."
Yep. Bottle that up for sure.
Right,
Absolutely.
but because of everyone else's negativity, I wasn't doing business. I was putting everything off, putting the phone calls off, putting the emails off, putting the postcards off. So now I have to make the time and positively make that time. So I thank you for this today.
Oh, well, our pleasure. And that was made it all worthwhile, Janice, for sure. Thank you so much.
That's why the camera's not on.
Yeah. That's it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much again. It was a pleasure being with you for this hour, and we look
Thank
forward
you.
to bringing you our next mastermind.